Live from the city of San Francisco. I'm sorry, I'm acting like Eric Rebel of Midnight Movie Talk. I like that dude, even though some of what he says is not really, up there. We're gonna go real quick into, Disclosure Day, because so many people, or this already got mixed reviews, are already feeling negative about it. I myself have got to rewatch this because I've been having a serious case of, not a serious case, but a small case of salmonella, I think. I have, I ate a bad salmon. I ate a bad salmon, fish. And I think it was salmon, Alaska salmon. I ate it at Woke. They served it at Woke, and I was excited. I actually put so much of the salmon inside of a to-go box, and I was going to take it home yesterday, but I forgot it, and I'm glad I didn't, because I got the case of the so I had to use the bathroom a total of 3 or 4 times at the movie theater. Usually I only go twice because my stomach is already bad, but this time I went like 3 or 4 times. I went twice, I know, during the movie, so I missed quite a bit. I didn't miss a whole lot. I just missed, I was already late, so I missed a little bit of the beginning. So that's why I got to rewatch this film, Disclosure Day. And also, I had to get up to the bathroom twice, at least once during the film, I think. So it was once. So it wasn't too bad, but anyway, I just want to go into these reviews and see how people are liking or just not liking the film. I mean, it's kind of, I don't know which ones do we trust first. Let's see what Film Threat. They did this about almost 2 weeks ago.
I was there and I saw Disclosure Day, and I think I may have had a very different reaction. I saw the film, and I had to really think about it and sit with it. So I drove home, and then I thought, okay, I'm collecting my thoughts. I just shot video here. So I'm going to show you the video I shot after seeing the movie. Let's watch it together. I may elaborate a little bit, but here's my reaction.
So I wanted to do an out of the theater reaction to Disclosure Day, but wasn't really feeling it. Felt like I needed the ride home to collect my thoughts. And here it is, the out of the theater reaction at home. So this movie is on a short list of films where there's a major spoiler in the title of the movie. That list.
I also have my out of theater reaction just posted. I don't know if I'm going to get a lot of views, but I usually take them at the theater. That's what people usually do. This says only reacts, or reacts, first reacts, which is short for reaction. And then we got an only review by the same people, Film Threat. And so, yeah, a lot of these people do out of the theater reactions. Notice I put that in quotes.
Includes The Search for Spock. Because in that movie, if you don't find Spock, what's the point of the movie? That's in the title. And Disclosure Day is about exactly that. Disclosure Day. But what is it really about? What happens after Disclosure Day occurs? Because if a movie is called that and that doesn't happen, well, that's a real disappointment. Well, this will not disappoint. Disclosures happen. It lives up to the title. And I guess my disappointment with this film, and I know a lot of people are saying it's a return to form for Spielberg, and I'm glad some people feel that way. Unfortunately, I do not. I feel what's missing is, I think, the things I've come to really love about Spielberg films, which is just a feeling of elation, joy, whimsy, humor. The movie's almost devoid completely of humor. A great score. The score is kind of forgettable, and I just wanted more. The actors don't disappoint; they do their job, but it does live up to the title. I'll have more thoughts and a full review, but my initial reaction is I wanted something more.
Well, that's it, Alan. That's what you. My opinion has not changed. I do have tickets to see it again, and I have had my mind changed. I did see the movie with a group of maybe 50 people at a screening room on the Universal lot, mainly industry people. But it really is, when you compare it, people are saying it's a companion piece to, Close Encounters and E.T. Those movies are wildly entertaining with characters that go on a journey and there's payoffs. I didn't get that from Disclosure Day. It felt like especially the humor. There's so much humor in Close Encounters. It's subtle, but there's humor. It's not like jokes. But there's humor. There's humor in E.T. There's whimsy and moments of levity. And this was deadly serious. And it really, the other thing I didn't mention in that video is it could have used an editor. Like, there are scenes that go on for so long, you're thinking, where's that tight editing? Let's go. The movie is like 2 hours and 20 minutes and could have been 40 minutes shorter. So I'm going to save it. I don't want to, obviously no spoilers, but I already bought tickets to see it on the Thursday before with a paying audience. My mind could be changed, but it was really missing all those essential Spielbergisms that make you love his classic films. I don't want to say he's lost it, but he has lost something. The other missing thing is John Williams' score. John Williams' score for both E.T. and Close Encounters. I'm sorry, I'm comparing it to his other two Alien movies, and it was really missing quite a bit. So
he did score it though, right? They're right in that.
What's that?
He did score it.
No, I'm not giving you my money.
He did. He's barely noticeable. The score is like forgettable to non-existent. I can't really say anymore. Let's save it, but there you are, Alan.
Movies. He's right. It wasn't that I didn't really care about it whatsoever. So he's got a video talking about his reaction, and then he's got first day reaction. I mean, first reaction. Then you get an actual out of theater reaction, and I'm just thinking to myself, why so many? Why so many reactions? This is my reaction to people's reactions. Let's see another out of theater reaction.
What's going on, everybody? It's an out of the theater reaction for Disclosure Day. This is the Steven Spielberg film, the latest one. And this is with Emily Blunt, Josh O'Connor, Coleman Domingo, Colin Firth, stacked cast. And this is something for me. Maybe you guys are following me from my pop culture channel. I also have a channel called DTE, where we cover UAPs and UFOs and other things. This out of the theater reaction. First of all, it's just a social reaction. The embargo for the review doesn't lift for a couple days, so I can't talk about full review. I'm just going to give my initial thoughts, but I'll also be giving more of a out of the theater reaction on my DTE channel, where it's a little bit more about the topic of UFOs and UAPs. This is strictly on the movie that I just saw, and Steven Spielberg clearly has a passion for this subject. Now, I didn't know going into it is going to be a little bit more like The Post with the movie The Post with the UAP kind of government officials trying to figure out and cover up, and there is them trying to get their documents and get it out to the public. And the answer is yes, that is there, but not in the form of The Post. It's more like a kind of traditional Steven Spielberg movie where you set up the character. Josh O'Connor really is the driving force in the beginning, and then Emily Blunt, when she's on screen, is electric. Emily Blunt, she could get nominated for this role. She's so good, she's so engaging. They have really good chemistry when they're on together. Coleman Domingo also, just such a peaceful, kind of calming presence throughout it, and Colin Firth playing the top kind of government official trying to make sure that they don't disclose what's going on. I'll give it the one criticism is maybe it's a little long. You could probably shave things off here and there. It didn't bother me, but so some people will probably be saying that. It's really about the performance, or really about the tension. The music, I felt like a kid again watching it, because it really was that traditional Spielberg-Williams collaboration. Williams knowing how to heighten the tension when the government officials are coming, trying to keep O'Connor and Blunt quiet, and the next thing happens. And this is, to me, how you build character, build emotion, but yet still make an entertaining movie. There's a train sequence in here that just is it keeps you on the edge of your seat. And again, just not only the performances by everybody, but Emily Blunt in particular, really grabs you and just has you from start to finish. So I really enjoyed the movie itself. As far as the UAP and UFO stuff, which I'll talk about, they touch on some of the things that are going on, and some of the things that, if you're following the topic in general, that is repeated in whether it's UFO channels, news that's covering this, things that have happened in the past. That type of stuff is in there. It plays a little bit more than Easter eggy, but it really is not. This is a movie, as it's going to be to pertain to everybody else. It's a movie. Do I think that they're going to have something that is going to change for UFO disclosure in this? Probably not, but I will get into that on my other channel. But overall, this is a really solid movie. Spielberg's best in quite a bit. I enjoyed it a lot. It's one of the better movies that I've seen so far, at least this summer for sure. So this year it's up there for me. I really enjoyed this one. So big thumbs up as I'm watching it. So do you guys want to see it? Do you want to check it out? Disclosure Day, you big Spielberg guy, do you want to go and check it out? And do you want to see how they're going to pertain with all the UAP UFO stuff? If you do follow that, go check out my other channel, Down to Earth with Christian Harloff. If you're just here for the movie stuff, then click subscribe on this channel. Trying to get to 300,000. Click that button, get us there. All right, we'll see you guys real soon. Bye.
Now, these people have all these channels and all these things that they're doing. I hate it when they keep asking people to subscribe and get us there to the number we need to get, all this other shit. And I'm like, at this point, buddy, get a job. Like, you don't have to ask hardworking people to donate to you and all this other shit. And I know I sound negative, but I'm dead ass for real. I'm tired of people getting on YouTube and making this a money thing, and making it seem like people have to subscribe to their channel. No one has to subscribe to my channel. Yes, I want views, but you don't have to subscribe to my channel. I mean, I know it sounds like I'm wage betting here, but because I am a bit. These people, they get on this channel and they just talk shit, and expect people to just subscribe and whatnot. And maybe I'm a bit of a hypocrite because I do subscribe, but only so I can use their videos in my live stream, which is what I'm going to do. I'm not going to ask for permission because I don't have to. That's just how this is.
What is happening, Magnusites? Conspiracy theorists, start your engines! So, just got back from seeing the great Steven Spielberg's latest movie, starring Emily Blunt. Disclosure Day. If you don't remember, it's the trailer where she's the news anchor and she's talking normally and then she starts. Yeah, that's the one right there. All right, so as you know, this movie involves aliens, and Emily Blunt is special in a particular way. She finds out there's someone else also special, and there are people looking for them. And they kind of need them for something, kind of don't. They need info, want to reveal info, keep info under wraps. You know, it's a whole smorgasbord of running around from top secret agencies type of thing. Now, Steven Spielberg can actually be hit or miss with me, even though I do like his movies. I recognize how good the ones that I like are. And this one, I gotta tell you, the CGI kind of took me out of it sometimes because I was like, come on, man, this is a Steven Spielberg movie. You know, sometimes the CGI was a little like, especially with specific animals, I was like, y'all could have did better than this. There are callbacks. One specific callback you'll notice from one of his other movies in here. And
don't tell me how to spend my money.
I'll say that the action, there were certain action set pieces that were pretty good. The acting was good. I liked how he directed it. However, I couldn't help feel a blandness to it. You know, I was hoping to God that it was going to be this huge tentpole, you know, milestone type of movie. Even with the trailers, I felt like it wasn't, but I was hoping.
That's what I'm talking about. You get your hopes up and you're disappointed. I didn't get my hopes up about this film. I didn't even care about it, really. I saw the trailer and I was like, yeah, another Steven Spielberg movie. I'll check it out. That's all I said. I didn't think anything about it.
It was going to be. I was hoping it was going to be, you know, like his next E.T. or something, you know, but it wasn't. It tackled a lot of stuff that we've already seen in the news and have actually been talking about for years as far as conspiracy theorists go. I know a lot of you are going to call this predictive programming. That way it may be. You never know. Scarlett was a little mad by the end of the movie. And I was just like, it's alright. You know, it's okay. Like, if you're a Steven Spielberg fan, I think it'll be worth it to you to take a look, at least. But,
not really a fan.
You know, if I were Jeremy Johns, I would give it a, not gonna remember it in T-minus, whatever he says, in 10 seconds or something like that. Like, it wasn't a bad movie. It wasn't bad. It just, I don't know.
Well,
I didn't find myself boring, but something was bored, but something was just bland about it. It was just.
I don't need to know. I just told you. Don't tell me how to speak.
All right. Okay. You know, like, yeah, and yes, you do get to see certain organisms in it. You know, for some, the special effects seem better than others, but when I saw them, I was like, God, the special effects could be so much better for this. This is Steven Spielberg. The special effects could be so much better for this. Yeah, so I'm going to give it 2.5 out of 5. Woos! Which you know is middle of the road for me. Meh. It's alright. It's okay. You know what I mean? It's alright. You know, so if you have seen it, tell us what you think below. And yeah, I'll see you in the next video. Next is The Furious.
I've seen that too. I should review it since I saw it early. I should review it. Go ahead and get a jump start on it. But I don't really care about it. You know, I'm sick of the spoiler-filled rants. The spoiler-filled rants. You know, the rants for Scary Movie. I'm sick of them. Need to. Anyway. Yeah, let's check out what Joey John says.
Disclosure Day's finally here. I mean, not in real life. The government, they don't trust us with shit. But if it can't happen in real life, I'll take fiction, I guess. I'm not even talking about aliens. I'm talking about the files. You know the files. Release the files already. Anyhow, Disclosure Day. Let's talk about that.
Epstein files?
So Disclosure Day is directed by Steven Spielberg, written by David Koepp. The trailers were pretty vague until I heard they started showing too much, so I didn't see those trailers. But long story as short as I can make it for the intro of this video, Josh O'Connor plays a guy who's stolen a number of thumb drives containing proof of alien contact. So Snowden-ish here is trying to get that information out. Meanwhile, Emily Blunt gets a message of sorts on air. These two meet up and they realize they're on the same path, they should have the same agenda here. All the while, Colin Firth, the government man's trying to track them down. If I can summarize this movie, it's basically Enemy of the State, only instead of tracking people with surveillance on Earth, tracking them with the MacGuffin device of alien technology. Okay, out the gate, I thought the acting in this movie was actually really solid. Standouts being Colin Firth is essentially the smoking man from the X-Files minus the cigarettes. But Emily Blunt, the absolute star in this film. She's a scene stealer who has the magnetism here. Shouldn't be a shock, we know she's great, but when I was watching, I was like, yeah, there's a reason she's a star. Coleman Domingo was great, but dude, that guy's having a year. Running Man wasn't great, but Coleman Domingo was fun in it. Michael, Disclosure Day, none of the characters are the same. He's just, I like how he picks a variety, an array of characters to play. You know, some actors out there, you're like, you are the same in everything. Speaking of the stars of the show,
Jason Statham. Just like with Liam Neeson. The same exact type of special soldier. Now, I like Jason Statham. Not much Liam Neeson because I'm not a big fan. His movies are easily forgettable. But Jason Statham, they pretty much are, but I like him better because I like his British accent when he's kicking ass. I became I'm not really a fan. I guess a fan. I'm going to say I'm a fan of his. I became a fan with his film since Crank. That movie. That's the movie that made that I started watching him. And then I started watching him, and I was like, "This guy's pretty cool, you know, with the nice British voice and unshackled." But yeah, that's what he's talking about. But yeah, Coleman Domingo, he really does change it up. He has a variety. He's diversified.
Even Spielberg and John Williams. I'm just saying, the phrase dynamic duo just doesn't quite cut it, and you absolutely do feel it. Steven Spielberg has some action sequences in this movie where you're like, I feel like he's taking other filmmakers to school here. It's not an action film by any means, but the movie does feel bigger than it might have in other hands. Usually involving driving, that train sequence was incredible to stand out in the entire film. That's kind of my point. You know, the tension was real. I was white-knuckling it in my seat. This movie really is a solid showcase of a seasoned director having a multitude of scenes showcasing tension. To be fair, I mean, in terms of the John Williams side of it, I mean, the man's 94 and still working here. And it's absolutely classic John Williams flavor. Have you seen the video comparing the music in the chase sequence in Attack of the Clones to the music in the chase sequence in Harry Potter during the Quidditch match? Now it's, very similar. There's a little bit of that here. I can't actually tell you the theme of the film, and when I think of John Williams, Steven Spielberg, it's these standout themes that you buy the next day after watching the movie. This movie, I can't think of the theme of Disclosure Day, but I only saw the movie once. There is that. But the multitude of chase sequences, ambient music to massage the tension, absolutely feels like John Williams here. I was getting a little nostalgic in Disclosure Day. I was like, yeah, It used to feel just like this. This movie does have more deliberate pacing. It forces you to lock in and stay connected. It's not a bad thing. It's just a thing you should know before going into it. And props to the movie for being surprisingly emotional. I did not expect that here. Granted, it does verge into... It feels a little cheesy at times. I get it. Spielberg is an old man now, and he's making himself some sappy old man emotion show up on screen. That said, a couple times it did come across as unbelievable. I just don't...
Hasn't he always been an old man for the most part? Not always, but you know, for like the better part of a decade, he's been an old man.
Buy that people would react this way to this thing. I actually saw a comment in one of my videos. Someone was like, look, you seem grumpier these days, man. Feels good to feel seen. Also, there is a point where there's this device that is kind of scary, you know, because it's keeping Colin Firth on their ass. Then at a point, it felt like this thing was just kind of in anything MacGuffin that they needed for any situation whatsoever. The movie is a bit too long, too. Definitely could have shaved some time. In fact, no spoilers here. I'm just saying, at a point in the movie, if you just went, and that's the end. That's where we're ending it. If they had just stopped the movie, I think it would have been a better ending. All in all, I do like the lessons in this movie. You know, like what the movie's going for, the message it has. Government.
And it actually has a cliffhanger ending, in a way.
Overreach, they say for what's best, but not for the people's, for their own agenda. It does touch on, look, if proof of aliens is out there, what does that do with faith? That's an interesting conversation. Are they conflicting ideologies? Can you have both? In the end, I enjoyed Disclosure Day. When Spielberg shines through, it's good stuff. When John Williams shines through, it's good stuff. It's also written by David Koepp, and well, he's hit or miss. This is one of those very dangerous movies, my friends. You walk out feeling a little more optimistic. God help us all. Had myself a good time. No alcohol required. All right, so Disclosure Day. Have you seen it? What did you think about it? Or what's your favorite alien movie? I mean, the first one or Aliens? Not what I meant. You know what I mean. One of those Spielberg alien movies. That's a good one. What's your favorite Spielberg alien movie? Bring on the War of the Worlds is underrated. Comments below, but whatever it is, whatever you think, comment below, let me know. And as always, if you like what you see here and you want to see more, click right here to see more.
Not a goddamn thing. Goddamn. Okay.
Can I ask a simple question here?
Nope.
Where are we at with aliens? When I was in school, any reporting of aliens would be all we would talk about, let alone government officials / documents basically confirming that they exist. I don't really know. I'm not too caught up on this, okay? Sometimes ignorance is bliss. And maybe our attitude as a society has kind of turned into like, yeah, of course I believe in extraterrestrial life exists. That's just a given because I have to cope with something from my miserable fucking life. But then there's also religion. And how does that conflict? You know, the same reasoning can be said about that. Well, have no fear. Steven Spielberg is here. His new movie Disclosure Day tackles the journey to release information that proves aliens exist and how we as a society would cope with that fact in all facets of life, including but especially religion. You throw in some evil sci-fi tech CEO with alien technology and CGI animals, and you have a big old capital M movie on our hands here. I had a chance to see Disclosure Day last night, and I'm still wrapping my feelings on this movie. I don't know where I'm gonna end up. And by the way, not that it's a big deal, nor is anyone really missing me, but the reason you haven't seen my face is because I moved and I have literally nowhere to record. If I put my face on screen right now, it'll look like I'm in heaven or the void or whatever. So it's pretty bad. I'll try to figure it out soon. Okay, anyways, Disclosure Day. Steven Spielberg, kind of in his mid-2000s feel. I don't know if it's just me, but for a Steven Spielberg alien movie that's coming out in the summer, it feels like there's not a lot of talk about it. Maybe it's because Obsession is literally taking over the world, or Backrooms, or Spider-Man's coming, and The Odyssey, obviously. And maybe that is for a reason, because I will say Disclosure Day, yeah, this is not going to work for some people. If I'm being honest, a good portion of this movie did not work for me either. The expectations versus reality of this movie are completely flipped, because just based off the trailers, the things that I expected to enjoy, I actually found pretty underwhelming. And the things that I loved the most about this movie are the things that I didn't even think about. Let me start here. The script, not one of the best that he's worked with. Listen, depending on the movie, I'm totally okay with characters kind of saying loudly what they are feeling, what they are doing in a very obvious way, okay? I can handle it once, I can handle it twice, I can handle it 3 times. But when a large portion of this movie feels like characters talking out loud to other characters what they are doing, what they are feeling, what they are thinking, it does get to a point where I'm like, all right, like, I get it. I get it, Aran. I'm with you here, okay? Trust me, I'm with you. And on the surface, maybe it might feel like these characters have a really deep, rich themes and emotions and backstories behind them. But when I really think about it, I don't even know if that's true. There are certain characters that we follow, specifically with Emily Blunt and Josh O'Connor's character, that yes, do have a backstory and reasoning for everything, but it never fully explores it. And I guess that might be my main problem now that I'm talking out loud. This movie tackles, obviously, a bunch of different themes and a lot of interesting ideas. I mean, when we're talking about aliens and how society would react, you can do a lot with that, but it never actually wants to explore it, or it doesn't have the capability to, or the script wasn't interested in it, or it just kind of goes all over the place. Because this script is a lot. It's convoluted. It's messy. Unless I'm mistaken, there's a quote from David Koepp, the screenwriter, who said he basically had to rewrite the script over and over. And I hate to be that guy, but like, yeah, I can see it. You know how sometimes there are movies that start off with a bang and just you are right in it and it goes and it's awesome? This is a movie that starts right away, right into the action, and usually I would be throwing my hands up saying, thank you so much, Steven Spielberg. Thank you for not wasting my time. However, as this thing starts and as it goes, it does get a little confusing. Not in a sense of what are they doing, because really this is, for a large majority of the movie, this is a chase movie. But I almost mean with little to no regard of the audience. And I'm sure I'll get some comments saying, brother, you are just stupid. And you know what? I will take that, okay? Insult me all you want, that's fine. But when you have that aspect of it and you don't really connect with the characters, plus you throw in the length of this movie, it's just a lot. And because of that, going back to what I said, there are large sections of this movie that I just did not connect with. And that really sucks. Because yes, there are individual scenes that are great and thrilling. Steven Spielberg and Janusz Kaminski, the cinematographer, holy cow, they are cooking up some magic, okay? But as impressive as a cinematographer is, doing some shots that just continuously have me being like, what is going on? How does he do this? That's why he's the master. You can include those shots every 5 minutes if you want. At the end of the day, I am here for the story. And the story overall, it was just okay. It was mediocre. And then we get to the third act, and I really think I hit the lean forward in my seat position and I did not move after that, but not in the way that you're expecting. I know when I say that, you might be thinking, oh my gosh, this probably ends in some sick chase, thrilling, adrenaline pumping. That's not exactly what I mean, and I won't get into specifics, obviously. I'm not going to spoil anything here. What I will say is, I could have watched that last 30 minutes for 5 hours if I wanted to. I could have watched that on a loop for the rest of my life. And it hit me in such a strange way, because on paper, if I just describe the ending, which I'm not going to, okay, but if I just describe it to someone, they might say like, okay, like cool, but I don't understand how this impacts you emotionally. I don't know why either, but it did. The ending of this movie, everything this movie is building to, which felt like we were going in circles forever. There are still things left unexplained that don't make any sense, or again aren't explored fully, but the ending hit and I was moved, and it did recontextualize this movie for me. Sprinkled throughout the movie, they talk about religion and the reveal of how religious people would act if aliens exist in the world. And don't believe any news reports you've seen. I already seen some fake tweets about it. This handles it in a very, very nuanced and respectful way. There is deep thought given to one's own experiences and how they would react to what's presented in front of them. I don't know if people even want to hear this right now, but a big theme is unity here. Us as human beings. Religion and unity are the two themes in this movie that actually do feel explored, that do feel respectful, that do feel nuanced. And for a movie where the trailers almost promised me an action-packed thrill ride, and I know some will enjoy that much more than myself, those are not the aspects of this movie that I enjoyed the most. I enjoyed the quieter moments of this movie. I enjoyed when two characters are able to sit and have a normal conversation about what this might mean, how people would react. Is this a good thing we're doing? That's what's most interesting about this movie to me. I just wish it was surrounded by something a little bit better to really drive that point even further home. Now, the performances here are all pretty solid. They all get the job done. You know, I have some nitpicks, but, you know, I won't get into that. I don't really like doing that. However, Emily Blunt, okay. Show me something then. Emily Blunt is fantastic in this movie. She is asked to certainly do a lot, almost having like manic psychosis type episodes. And it can really border on like almost silly, but she is always able to rein it in, and she is fantastic. If she is able to get nominated for Oppenheimer, then she should win like the Nobel Peace Prize for this one. Okay, I know it's not apples to apples. Don't take it literally, but I'm just saying. So as I've talked this out here, truthfully, I'm still very conflicted on this movie. And if I'm being honest to myself, there is more to this movie that I did not care for than I did care for. But I'll be damned if I want to see this again. If I haven't stopped thinking about the ending since I saw it. I'll be very curious to know what you all think when you see it. Please let me know in the comments. For now, Disclosure Day, 3 stars. Might be a little low. I really don't know. You know, I'll see how I feel. If you see me change it on Letterboxd, you know, mind your business. Thank you all for watching. Hopefully you'll see my face soon. Or you don't care. I don't know. Bye.
You're a weird guy, man. Weird guy. I'm just gonna keep it going.
Steven Spielberg's UFO film Disclosure Day hits theaters this weekend, so let's see them aliens. Hello everybody, I'm Dan Merle here with my review of Disclosure Day. The review embargo was just lifted, and I have a chance to share my thoughts on the movie. This is Spielberg's first film since The Fabelmans back in 2022. He also wrote the story for the film, with the screenplay coming from David Koepp. It's Koepp's 5th time writing a Steven Spielberg film, and his first since Indiana Jones and the Kingdom of the Crystal Skull. The plot for Disclosure Day has been a guarded secret, almost as much as the secret of alien existence itself. So I'm going to give you a very basic overview of the film. This is all stuff from trailers or that you find out in the first 10 or 15 minutes of the movie. Disclosure Day finds the world on the brink of war, but behind that, a secret government agency is fighting to keep proof of alien existence from the public. Josh O'Connor plays Daniel Kellner, a computer genius in possession of said proof. Emily Blunt plays Margaret Fairchild, an airy local weather reporter who suddenly develops fantastic abilities. Side note, Margaret works at a local Kansas City news station, which coincidentally was where I saw my critic screening of this film. The audience that I was in was probably the only one in the world that's going to clap at the on-screen location identifiers in Disclosure Day. Colin Firth plays the head of the secret government agency, Wardex, who...
Colin Firth from the Kingsman franchise.
That's going to clap at the on-screen the news station, which coincidentally was where I saw my critic screening of this film. The audience that I was in was probably the only one in the world that's going to clap at the on-screen location identifiers in Disclosure Day. Colin Firth plays the head of the secret government agency, Wardex, who is using every tool in his arsenal to keep the public from finding out the truth about aliens. And Coleman Domingo plays Hugo Wakefield, the head of the Truth Movement, who's directing his sleeper agents from the shadows while preparing the endgame. All of this intrigue will result, if the truthers have their way, in Disclosure Day, the day that humanity is presented with absolute proof that we are not alone in the universe. This is the 4th time that Steven Spielberg has dealt directly with aliens after Close Encounters, E.T. the Extraterrestrial, and War of the Worlds. I'm not counting the interdimensional beings from Kingdom of the Crystal Skull. And it's a subject matter that he's obviously very fascinated with. This is not necessarily a big picture story, a rumination on the existence of aliens, but a moment-by-moment journey through the potential revelation of the existence of aliens. However, inside of that journey, we do get discussions about the ramifications of alien existence on things like government and religion, and whether humanity can even handle such a disclosure. You can tell that these are questions that Spielberg himself has pondered over the years, and this feels like an extension of the first feature that he ever wrote, Close Encounters of the Third Kind, back in 1977. If that movie was about the wonder of discovering aliens exist, this one is about the potential complications that would come with it. As a huge fan of Steven Spielberg, I mean, he is the director that got me into movies in the first place. I think that his career can be divided into a few different eras, but this film feels like a combination of a lot of the work that he's done over the years. It has a lot of elements of the dark futurism of Minority Report, which actually now kind of closely matches our real world, along with the more awestruck filmmaking that we saw in his early movies. Given that the story is literally about the clash of those two things, I think the combination works really well. And I liked the look of the film, which is done through the lens of Spielberg's longtime cinematographer, Janusz Kaminski. We also get another collaboration between Steven Spielberg and composer John Williams, one of the greatest cinematic combinations of all time. And given that it's John Williams, it's probably not a shock that the music in this movie is really good. There's one track in particular that plays under a crucial scene that has a piano part that I think is very reminiscent of another piece of score that John Williams wrote for E.T., which is my favorite movie score of all time. So John Williams, genius. Breaking news. The acting in this movie is also very strong, especially from Emily Blunt. This is one of the best performances of her career, if not the best. She's asked to play a lot of notes in this movie, from broad comedy to sheer panic, and she nails every single one of those notes. Along with Indy Navarrete from Obsession, this is one of the clear frontrunners for me for performance of the year so far. Josh O'Connor, I think, is also good in the movie, but I felt like his character was more a function of the plot. The story kind of flows through him, but I didn't feel like his character got as much depth to play with. Colin Firth plays a suitably threatening antagonist who can wield terrifying power to get what he wants. And Coleman Domingo, I think, provides kind of a warm heart at the center of the film, though I think he too could have used a little bit more character depth. And in service of the saying that there are no small parts, Courtney Grace, who's a former TV anchor, plays the same role in a critical sequence of the film, and I think absolutely crushes it. It's a role that might seem inconsequential, but it kind of grounds the impact of what we're seeing on screen at the time. And Wyatt Russell also does a great job as Margaret's boyfriend, scoring several laughs of his own. He's a standout in the film until the script just kind of runs out of things to do with him. If the movie has a main weakness, I think it is the screenplay from David Koepp. I have a very up and down relationship with David Koepp. He has written some great movies, and he's also written some terrible ones. And I think when you look at this film, what it has are a lot of great scenes that are placed into a somewhat average story. And I don't think that is conflicting. I think you can have great scenes in a good screenplay. It basically meant for me that the connective tissue between those great scenes could have been a lot stronger, so that they all flowed together, flowed into and out of each other, and made the overall screenplay great instead of just parts of it. However, the scenes that are great in a lot of different ways, whether it's heavier dialogue scenes or action sequences. Disclosure Day offers a lot of different things, including frequent and effective humor, creative action set pieces, genuine insights into the nature of humanity, and a suspenseful ending. The script does at times, though, dip into what I think are some of Koepp's weaknesses, including some plot contrivances and some things that I thought were just a little too unbelievable, even in a movie that's nominally about aliens. But those things don't kill the movie. I just think that those few things, along with the overall average nature of how the story itself flows together, holds the movie back from being truly great, even though it does achieve greatness in some individual moments. Steven Spielberg has a gift, not just for depicting amazing things on screen, but also for making the audience feel the awesomeness of these things, just as much as the characters in the movie feel the awesomeness. And he was able to do that for me, again, with a lot of stuff in Disclosure Day. It may not have been awe at the scale of some of his greatest works, but it's still awe. And I think that he is one of the greatest visual directors of all time. There are shots in this movie that prove that he has not lost his touch, and I particularly liked how he and Kaminski used reflections in the movie, often combining two separate elements in one frame in really interesting ways. Disclosure Day is an incredibly dynamic film, and it's over 2 hours long, but still flew by for me, even at times when the story took a little bit of a stumble. Directing a movie, a really good movie, is kind of like conducting a symphony, and there are very few people, I think in the history of movie making, that do it better than Steven Spielberg. Any frustrations that I might feel about Disclosure Day really come from the fact that I think it could have been an absolute masterpiece, something that would have been an even more effective bookend to Spielberg's career. And it's not over, but I just mean a movie at the beginning and a movie at the end, along with 1977's Close Encounters of the Third Kind. The elements are all there, but they just don't all come together at the same time, which, by the way, shouldn't be necessarily an expectation for any movie, because there are very few movies where all of the elements come together in that kind of beautiful symphony that I was talking about of a truly great film. But I think that the possibility was there with Disclosure Day, and I'm actually anxious to watch the film a second time now that I kind of know where the story's going and what the character connections all are, to see just how effective it is once you get past that sort of first blush of seeing the movie without having seen really anything other than trailers. But what I can say after my first viewing, as I sit here in the middle of the night recording this review, is that it features some fantastic acting, some deep questions, striking imagery, and a curiosity about humanity's place in the universe that can only come from a filmmaker who's genuinely passionate about the subject matter. So on my personal scale, I'm putting Disclosure Day very healthily into the It's Good category, inching up toward the See It Now category, and I think that this may go down as the signature film of Spielberg's late career, unless of course he cooks up something even better than this movie in the next several years, which would absolutely delight me. So those are my thoughts on Disclosure Day. What do you think? Are you heading out to theaters to see it this weekend? Let me know down in the comments below. And as always, stay tuned right here for the latest in movie news, reviews, box office, and more. Until next time, stay safe, watch the skies, and I'll see you then.
Not a great
Bye.
mom. This
Yep.
What's up, guys? The one and only Steven Spielberg has a new freaking movie out this weekend.
Feel the bed bugs. That's what happens when you let your window stay open.
And I saw it on Monday night, and we're going to review it. It's called Disclosure Day. Let's go. Disclosure Day stars Emily Blunt, Josh O'Connor, Colin Firth, Wyatt Russell, and is directed by Steven Spielberg.
Some have good shit.
What's up, guys? Welcome to a brand new 2026 review.
No.
It feels like it's been like a week since I've sat in the chair. I saw this movie on Monday night, and I'm old, so I get tired quickly, and if I'm tired, I don't feel like recording. I don't do out-of-theater reactions if I'm not up for it. Maybe it's lazy, I don't know what it is, but I was just like, you know what, I'll just save it for the review, and I'll review it when I feel like I want to review it. So now I feel like I'm ready to review this movie after seeing it 3 nights ago. I was excited because it is a Steven Spielberg movie, but that doesn't mean, I think every movie that Steven Spielberg has put out is great. I think he had a heyday in the 80s, and I think he definitely had some strong movies in the 90s and early 2000s. I'm a big fan of World of Worlds. I like Minority Report. As a matter of fact, I gave Minority Report another watch just the other night. This one looks similar to Minority Report, the cinematography and all that. But Steven Spielberg, if I can start off with something strong here, is that as far as like his directing style, his, the way he likes the camera to move, the way he wants his movies to look, I think in that department, he's still at the top of his game. There's no like laziness on display as far as a director goes. Okay, I mean, this still looks like prime Steven Spielberg. But the problem is in the story department for this. I guess we'll start off with a quick plot synopsis. Our main focal point really here is Josh O'Connor. He happens to be like this tech IT guy. He's aware of some very sensitive information. If it gets out, it could cause some really bad juju for the world, the planet. So most of the movie, he is on the run. Colin Firth is like the leader of this organization. They have this, I call it like a stick device. It's like a stick, and it's definitely not of this world. And he's able to use this stick for certain powers, where he can basically inhabit the body of, whoever the host is that he's trying to see, out of their eyes. And the reason Josh O'Connor's character is doing this, his name is Dr. Daniel Kellner, by the way, is because I guess he has a heart, he has a conscience, he knows some sensitive information. And going forward in this review, I'm going to, I guess, kind of divulge some of the stuff that might be a little sensitive, because whatever you're thinking it is, it probably is, okay? I mean, the trailer itself makes this feel like an alien invasion type of movie, all right? If you want to go into this knowing absolutely nothing, then I would say pause the review, go watch the movie, and come back, because I think in order for me to really convey my annoyances with this movie, I think some stuff might be light spoilery, okay? Emily Blunt plays Margaret Fairchild. I can't help but think of Morgan Fairchild when I hear that name, but she is this weather lady, and right in the middle of her weather report, she starts having this reaction, this very strange, otherworldly reaction. And I'll admit, when I saw the trailer for this, I thought, is she an alien? That was kind of my question. But these two characters, Margaret Fairchild and Dr. Kellner, they are linked, and I won't spoil that part of this movie, but let's just say they're part of a bigger picture here. And at the end of the day, this is an alien movie, like a Roswell type of movie. And I could not help, but feel sort of annoyed and frustrated and not really caring that much by the end of this almost 3-hour journey. It does have a couple of, I guess, cool action sequences, and I think Steven Spielberg's direction in and of itself is sort of a treat to watch. I think he can make a scene that might be otherwise sort of boring. He can make it interesting just by the way he actually directs the scene. There's definitely some trippy imagery here, especially when you got Colin Firth's character seeing through the eyes of another character. There's a scene where he is channeling Dr. Kellner's girlfriend, and you can tell the difference when her eyes change from blue to brown, so that way the viewer can tell who's who during the scenes. And I think a lot of these scenes sort of reminded me of some of the trippy stuff that they were doing in Minority Report, but I think Minority Report had a much more interesting story. And I know that Steven Spielberg wrote this story on like his iPad. I saw like an interview where he was talking about it. And I think the brunt of this story and idea is written by Steven Spielberg. And I think this is one of those cases where, the very talented director might not be the very talented writer. And I think to tell another alien story sort of makes no sense at this point. And if you're going to do that, maybe
it's kind of like that's all you do is tell alien stories, and it makes me think, are you an alien?
Try going in a different direction with it, something that's not really expected. But this movie is just expected. It goes the direction that you think it's going to go, and it really is very literal in its approach in the last act. I think as far as ambiguity goes, all that's kind of just thrown out the window, and you're kind of left rolling your eyes with how everything sort of unveils in the last act of the movie. I will say that Emily Blunt, her character has these powers that are sort of silly, and I can see why he gave her these powers, so that way we can sort of justify some of her actions that, let's face it, wouldn't really fly otherwise. But they come off as just sort of silly. Really, a lot of this movie just feels like a lot of bad ideas thrown against the wall, and just to see what sticks, because it is very long. There's a lot of moving parts going, and it's not that it's confusing or anything. It's just sort of redundant compared to what has come before by the actual same director. And I think he's done far better movies in terms of dealing with aliens. And I don't feel like there's that much heart in this story. I think there are moments here and there, but I don't think there's sort of like a thread throughout the movie to make you really care about these characters. I couldn't help but think back to E.T. and how moving, really, that movie is, and how at its core it's about this family. Do I think after watching this that Steven Spielberg should hang it up? No, I'm not necessarily saying that, but I don't think he should write his next movie. I think...
Oh, whoa, hold on. You should not be going into telling people what they should not be doing, man. That's not go that far.
In terms of directing, I think he's still very effective. Some might say a one-trick pony at this point with a lot of the familiar angles that he uses. You know, it's a style, it's a signature, it's a brand. And I think if you just love that particular Spielberg style,
of
then
possibilities
fine.
for me.
You know, that's fun to watch. But I do feel like a lot of the camera tricks in this movie
but this story is less about what
over and over and over again. I did see somebody mention that this was like the worst or one of the worst movies of the decade. I think that's a far stretch. I don't think the rating for this movie on Rotten Tomatoes, I think it's too high, but I see why it's there.
Oh my God, let's see how high it is, man. I didn't really enjoy it because I didn't kind of understand it. I kind of didn't understand it. I have to watch it again because I want to be fair if I want to give my assessment or review. Not that I don't know if I'm going to review it, but if I want to give it a score, I have to be fair. I can't. Okay. I'm sorry. I can't. I just can't. I can't do it. It's 82% in the all critics and 76% in the top critics. So, but I always look at the 82. I always look at the all critics. It doesn't have an audience score yet. I was just watching the video of the Steven Spielberg. I was watching this video with Steven Spielberg on the IMDb page.
I could imagine, and much more about what other people have actually witnessed and experienced.
I think, yeah, it's about...
Somebody else got me into points of light charging across the sky at night, and it just opened to life beyond our atmosphere. He took me out one day to watch a meteor shower when I was 5 or 6 years old. I got to see these little points of light charging across the sky at night, and it just opened up a whole universe of possibilities for me. And I think my dad, more than anybody else, got me into the business of telling stories. But this story is less about what I could imagine and much more about what other people have actually witnessed and experienced in the world in different countries in terms of eyewitnessing UFOs, now being called UAPs.
I feel like I've always wanted to know what's beyond the stars, and I've been interested in it. I'm not afraid of it. And yet when...
I mean, Matt Walsh would probably eat this shit up. He'd probably like it. He would like it, man. This person probably didn't enjoy it. For Disclosure Day, one of America's founding fathers wants you simply to engage, not just with his work, but also with any artist. I don't know. Okay. Bog it down and live in possession. That no human not addicted to ChatGPT would ever speak, and a near total lack of believable action. I'm sorry. Bogged down with Lupin. Okay, let's look up some of these words. So hard to understand. I'm probably going out of the frame. With Lupin exposition. Exposition, we know what that is. Stodgy dialogue that no human not addicted to ChatGPT would ever speak. Oh, because no human that's not addicted to it, obviously. That can fall to the lowest a most modern standard of society. Something that is large, heavy, and awkward. Whatever that means. As a descriptive term used to describe things, people that are physically awkward, sluggish, uneducated. Okay, so you're thinking like past tense to barred, stuck in a task. Means that it's stuck and it becomes stuck and soft. So it's kind of like stuck. That was for a scary movie, and that's a scary movie. They don't really. Something that's dull, or traditional, boring. It can also refer to something that's heavy, dense. Yeah, so it's kind of saying it's like the same thing we've heard before. Anyway, with the ghost of conceivable reality given over to weightless CGI. Whatever that last part means, let's just go back to review.
There, because I think this is a situation where the movie is probably on the line for a lot of people. Like, I would wager that most reviewers, and I don't want to speak for critics, most of them aren't probably thinking this movie is like, one of the best movies of the year. If I had to give it a percentage rating, I would give it, not me personally, but just how I don't think they're thinking. This movie's not like a 95% out of 100 movie. It's not like a 4.5 out of 5 movie. But all it needs to get a positive rating is, let's say like a 65%, a 6.5 out of 10. That, I think most critics, if they're giving a movie that, they're going to give it a fresh rating. And so that's why you're seeing such a high rating for this movie, when in fact it's probably right in the middle somewhere, but just enough in the middle to get it a positive. I hope that makes sense. A lot of people don't really understand how the metrics work with Rotten Tomatoes. And oftentimes you'll see that complaint, like, how in the hell is this movie at an 87% or whatever? And I always have to tell people, it's not necessarily 87%, meaning that it's that good, No, it just means that 87% of critics thought it was at least okay. That's what it means. But for me, after letting it sit...
Of the ones that saw it, and probably, like you said, not a whole lot of people saw it. Because if we go back into Rotten Tomatoes, like we look at this is only based on 218 reviews, and believe it or not, that's not a whole lot. That's not a lot. You only got 54 top critic reviews so far. So we'll wait to see this starting tomorrow.
Settle, I'd probably give it like a 60%, but I think because it's freaking Steven Spielberg and at the level that this is, I can't help but give it a 2 hours lost, if I'm being honest. Or I guess 3 hours lost. One thing I definitely will mention is that Emily Blunt's acting is quite awesome, quite amazing. She's always awesome in everything she does. And I think she's passionate about this part for sure. This is a very talented actress. There's a reason why she's one of the top tier actresses working today. If you want to watch great acting, you'll definitely get that from her in this for sure. I mean, it's a Spielberg movie. You're not going to get really bad acting. But as far as I think the dialogue goes and all that, I don't think it's anything special. And there are some moments in this movie where you're definitely going to roll your eyes. Okay, that's just how I see it. Sometimes I do think Spielberg's dialogue in his movies, and not necessarily saying that he writes all his movies because he doesn't, but oftentimes I think some of his characters, I don't know, it just seems like it's a little bit too far up its own ass. Maybe that's not the way to put it, but yeah, that's how I feel about some of his movies. So anyway, guys, let me know what you guys thought of Disclosure Day. Did you see it? Let me know. Looking forward to hearing your thoughts. Also, be sure to come over to Killer Flicks, where we talk horror all day and every day. And on Fridays, we do Free For All Fridays. Follow me, Drum Dums, on my social. Support me on Patreon. Become a channel member. Buy me a coffee. And you guys, thank you so much for watching. Have a good day. Drum Dum out.
This man is dedicated. He's got the whole music and everything.
Let's take a look at today. Let's.
So sorry, I had the serious case of salmonella. You know, it's used the bathroom too many times. I don't really. I didn't watch a lot, but I mean, I did watch it. I missed some parts, so kind of. Let's just see it. That's the sound my ass was making.
Kanye, it's your cousin, Chris East. Yes, you know that beat you've been looking for? Well, listen to this.
Disclosure Day is the latest Steven Spielberg movie. This time around, we are following a whistleblower named Dr. Kellner who has now gotten his hands on top secret information dealing with extraterrestrial life. He begins his journey into disclosing the information while on the other side of the country, Margaret Fairchild, played by Emily Blunt, is now experiencing weird phenomena. That's all. Pretty second. Any spoilers, you guys? This will be a spoiler-free review. Hey, I think it's always a glorious time as a cinephile to have a Steven Spielberg movie in theaters. Let's take a moment and appreciate that. The air feels nice. But okay, with the exaggerated glaze out the way, Steven Spielberg is one of the greats, and so it was always interesting to me that when for a while Steven would kind of do more personal projects, smaller projects. Nothing against The Fabelmans, I actually really loved that movie, but it was never the movie that drew in a huge crowd to go out to see them. And you know, when I think about Steven Spielberg's bigger movies, you think about big films that draw in a crowd, whether it's your Jurassic Park, your Jaws, your E.T. They fill you with that sense of wonder and awe and remind you of the magic of movies. So believe me, I was so excited when I heard Steven Spielberg's next film was a UFO kind of feeling like a big blockbuster event film. Oh, I was like, sign me up. I have been waiting, Mr. Spielberg. It was even all that more special when, thanks to TikTok, they invited me out to not only see the movie early, I've seen it twice now, once in New York for this TikTok event and a second time here in Dallas where there was my press screening, and I got to see Steven Spielberg and the cast up close discuss about the movie. It was a really great experience, and so that's gonna make the next couple things I say just a little bit more difficult because I walked in, I wanted my mind blown, and I think my thoughts on Disclosure Day, and I think a lot of other people's thoughts, is going to be very complicated. Look, let me get into the really good before I get into the mixed things that have me feeling complicated. Okay, so it is Steven Spielberg. So when I tell you Disclosure Day is one of the most well-made movies of this year, I'm not lying. You are easily reminded why he is considered one of the greats, because this has everything that makes a good big movie feel big. It is very well shot. I love all the signature lens flares and choice of lighting, blocking shadows that Steven Spielberg is known for. But in addition to that, you also have John Williams, who is really busting out an incredible score that really kind of brings you back to scores they just don't really make. Because when his score is blaring throughout the course of the events of Disclosure Day, you are brought back to that whimsy, to that big feel with older films. And that's, I think, sometimes what you hope for when you go into a Steven Spielberg movie, right? We also have a great cast here. Josh O'Connor as the main whistleblower is really good, and you understand where he's coming from in wanting to just disclose all this to the people. He has a partner played by Eve Hewson who works on the opposite side about, well, do you think we want to do this? What would happen to the world if we told them about everything? And those conversations were one of my favorite parts of Disclosure Day, is kind of debating on, if we did tell everybody, what does that mean for religious groups? What does that mean for other people? Can the world handle this? That's really some of the ideas and questions Disclosure Day is trying to tackle. Then you also have Coleman Domingo, who just, of course, is awesome in anything he's in. Colin Firth plays the villain. He's the head of the corporation who's been tasked to keep all these alien secrets for all these years. And in moments, I think he really does pull off that menacing feel. But I'm going through all this cast, and I'll just quickly mention Wyatt Russell, who is nice comedic relief as the partner of Emily Blunt's character. It was nice to see him in here. I didn't even know he was in this movie until I was finally watching. I was like, oh, what are you doing here? But he made me laugh a few times. But all this to say, nobody in this cast is better than Emily Blunt. This movie, I think, is all put on her shoulders, and she could very possibly, I think, be nominated for her role here because she delivers an amazing performance. She, through the course of this, has to juggle with a lot of emotions and turmoil, and she gains these abilities that honestly fascinating to see unfold whenever she has interactions with other people, but it's even just more the way she's trying to cope and deal with that, and the conversations she later has with like Josh O'Connor's character. She is just so good in this, and is kind of the thing that kept me engaged all throughout it. When it comes to the sci-fi alien elements, I think that's where, you know, I'll definitely dive into more on the complicated feel of this movie, but there is definitely some cool sci-fi things they were tackling. There are things that had me on the edge of my seat. This movie kind of just drops you right into the middle of everything going on, and it's not really there to catch you up. It's more you have to just follow along and put pieces together as you're going, and I think that made it for a fun watch to a point, but there's a lot of great things going on, and alien devices and powers, abilities. It's a movie that really builds and builds and builds and builds until you get to that big moment. So now, before I go into the things I mixed to just negative about with this, I do just want to emphasize, it's still a Steven Spielberg movie. It's going to be a better made movie than a lot of movies that come out this year. And I mean, just knowing Spielberg's prestige and how well he works, I think there is going to be a lot of critics, you know, kind of hesitant to admit their complicated feelings or how they just didn't connect with this movie as much just because of how well it is made. It's not that it's being mismarketed, but I definitely think there needs to be a taming of expectations on what this movie actually is. A lot of people might be going into this wanting the big alien stuff, the UFOs, the extraterrestrial things, when this movie isn't entirely about that. Those elements are scattered throughout the movie for sure, and this is an alien movie. It's not a movie where you go in and it's like it's actually not about aliens. No, it is about aliens, but if you're wanting to go in to see aliens, to really spend time with aliens, maybe reset your expectations. This movie is much more about the journey and the questions drawn on what if the world found out aliens were real? How would we react? What questions would we have, and how would we even tell the people about this? That's more what this movie is on about. It's really just this long journey trying to get to that moment. And don't get me wrong, for a good chunk of it, I was intrigued and wanting to go down, but I feel like you could tell this movie is building and building and building and building and building and building and building, and then it ends. And that, I think, will leave a lot of people feeling underwhelmed, maybe disappointed, or thinking, this was not what I was expecting at all. Some other drawbacks, I think the movie had all those sci-fi elements and powers and abilities. While they're cool and they do have nice scenes attached with those abilities, I think in the end of the day, they felt very random. They felt very sporadic, and you're left with more questions than answers. I'm fine with kooky sci-fi stuff, and it doesn't have to make logical sense, but even in its own world, when the things you're showing can just do anything, you do lose that sense of attachment because the movie isn't setting any rules or boundaries for how this thing works. It's just a magical thing that can do whatever it wants. And I think that does hurt the movie a little bit. It's also a very long film. You know, we have this debate all the time about, no, it's not long, you just have TikTok brain. No, this movie is just very long, and it tests your patience on how much it is withholding the extraterrestrial stuff that I do think a lot of people are going in for that. I mean, it's a big part of the marketing, and I believe even Steven Spielberg or other people involved had said nothing from the third act is part of this movie, which really makes you think that they're hiding a lot of, like, you know, alien things going on when that's not really the case. I saw it a second time because I felt, well, I had these expectations and things in mind on what I wanted this movie to be. It didn't end up being that. So the second time around, I was like, I'll just want to watch the movie and accept it for what it is. And I think it just still left me a little underwhelmed. Part of me also wishes that, like, the thing that this movie ends on was actually the middle of the movie, because a lot of this movie is puzzling the thought of, like, well, what happens when people find out? What will religious people do? What will non-believers do? And, like, those questions are posed, and I'm like, I actually would have liked a movie exploring that stuff, not even to see more alien things, but just to explore the ideas you're bringing up, because yeah, those are intriguing things and I'd like to see. You know, I'm someone that believes if we found out, I think business as usual by next week. You know, bills are due, things need to be done. Okay, the aliens are out there. coup. And it feels blasphemous even saying this kind of stuff about a Steven Spielberg movie, especially when in the movie itself there's just so many great things going on. Like, pay attention to the camera work in this film, like the way the camera even moves within a car. There's this great scene at a house in the middle of nowhere where Josh O'Connor's character is sneaking around, and just that one shot is so awesome and really makes me think, how did they even do that? But I just think it's the story part and what this movie was kind of building to. When it all ends, it makes you go, kind of, what was the point of all that? I mean, the conspiracy theorist in me is, Steven Spielberg did say this movie has more truth than fiction. I think there's going to be people walking out happy because they're like, oh, he's telling us without telling us. This movie's actually a warning and preparing us for the announcement. Get ready, y'all. There's a part of me that definitely feels that way, because you could tell there are things within it that is taken from real life urban legends, including aliens. And if this is Steven Spielberg disclosing that to us in a movie and calling it fiction, all right, well, I'll take that, Mr. Spielberg. But as the film itself, I just feel like it unfortunately didn't hit the mark with me. I do hope a lot more people enjoy it, but it's definitely a situation where I feel like I need to tell people to check their expectations, and maybe you'll come out having just a much better time because of that. So when it comes to Disclosure Day, I'm gonna give action 2.5 stars. There honestly isn't a whole lot of action. The biggest action set piece is that train and car sequence that's shown off in the trailer. If you're hoping for some big UFO stuff, not so much. Comedy in the movie, I'm also gonna give it 2.5 stars. Most of that is from Wyatt Russell, and I guess a little Emily Blunt as well. There's great moments of comedy in there, but it's mainly played straight. But those moments of levity, I think, are nice for the length of the movie. Drama in the film, I'm gonna give it 3 stars, and honestly, that's a disappointing rating for something like Disclosure Day, because I was just hoping to really be blown away by its story and its visuals, and while there's definitely moments of that, when it was all said and done, it did leave me feeling slightly underwhelmed. And suspense in the movie, I'm gonna give it 2.5 stars. Most of your suspense is coming from the first half of this movie, where you feel like they're building up and those answers and reveals are coming, and then you realize the movie's almost over and you're still at the build up and asking question phase, and you're like, am I gonna get aliens? What's going on? So when looking at the 3 C's, I definitely think casual fans and even some cinephiles will walk out disappointed. This is much more for the critics, who are going to appreciate all the well-made aspects that go into filmmaking, from its cinematography, its score, its performances. That's where this movie will shine more. And so it is because of all those grand elements. I do think the movie, even with its shortcomings in its story and delivery, I think it's still worth checking out in theaters. I know, like I said, it's a complicated feeling. I wanted to come out loving this and raving about it, but like I said, I just came out feeling a little bit more like, man, I kind of wish they did more with this. I toss it off to you guys, though. You seen Disclosure Day, or you're looking forward to Disclosure Day? Would love to hear it all down below. Don't forget to like, subscribe, follow me on Twitter at 3C Films, or on TikTok at 3C Films. But as always, I'm Chris. Take care.
Yeah, definitely go see it in theaters. Sorry to cut it short, but I got a bad case of the stomach, but yeah, make sure you don't eat anything that's got even remote salmonella in it that'll make you, stay on the toilet, so you could go see this movie or any movie in theaters.